Derek hit Samantha. That's what Beatrice told everyone at the community center. My name is Derek Freitas, and I'm 32 years old. I work as an electrician for Conway Construction, married to Samantha for 4 years. When Mrs. Villiers crossed to the other side seeing me, I knew something was wrong. My neighbor stopped making eye contact. Derek, there are rumors about you and Samantha. People are saying you're abusive. My stomach dropped. That's not true. Who's saying that? Multiple people mentioned it. I know you, and I don't believe it, but I have to ask. Is everything okay at home? I felt sick. For years of marriage, and I'd never raised my voice to Samantha. We were trying to start a family. Everything's fine. I would never hurt my wife. Walking to my truck that afternoon, I saw people whispering and staring. Someone had poisoned my reputation. Hashtag if you're watching this, subscribe, like and let me know where you're watching from. The whispers started 3 weeks earlier, after Samantha and I announced we were buying our first house. Beatrice was furious about moving 15 minutes away. She wanted us to buy the house next door. You're taking my daughter away from me, she said during Sunday dinner. What kind of man isolates his wife from her family? It's 15 minutes, Mom, Samantha replied. Beatrice glared at me. I'm sure he did. I should have seen the warning signs. Beatrice never liked me. She thought her daughter deserved better than an electrician. She wanted Samantha to marry someone with a college degree. But Samantha loved me. We dated for 2 years before marriage. She knew I was saving money to start my own electrical business. Beatrice saw me as the enemy. Every family gathering became a war zone where she'd make comments about my job. Samantha would defend me, which made Beatrice angrier. Now I understood why she'd been asking questions about our marriage. I confronted Samantha that evening. She was making dinner when I walked through the door. Your mother is telling people I hit you, I said. Samantha dropped the wooden spoon. What? Mrs. Villiers won't look at me. My boss pulled me aside. People are staring and whispering. This could ruin my business. Samantha's face went pale. I haven't talked to my mother about anything like that. I know. But she's telling people something that makes them think I'm abusive. We called Beatrice immediately. Samantha put the phone on speaker. Mom, Derek says you've been telling people he hits me. That's not true. Beatrice's voice was ice cold. I never said he hits you. I said I was worried. You've been looking tired lately. People draw their own conclusions. What people? Samantha demanded. Mrs. Kelly from church. The ladies at my book club. The way she said it made my blood run cold. She was being technically truthful while spreading poison. The next week was hell. 3 regular clients canceled their contracts. My business partner started asking questions. Someone spray-painted "wife beater" on my truck. I reported it to police, but Officer Nick shook his head. Domestic violence accusations stick, even when they're false. That's when I realized how clever Beatrice had been. She never directly accused me. She just planted seeds and let imaginations do the rest. When someone asked about Samantha, she'd say she was concerned. Samantha was devastated. She tried calling her mother's friends, but the damage was done. Once people believe you're capable of violence, every interaction gets reinterpreted. My calm demeanor became controlling. I'm so sorry, Samantha cried. I don't know how to fix this. Neither did I. Beatrice had outmaneuvered us completely. She'd found a way to destroy my reputation without saying anything technically false. Beatrice escalated 2 weeks later. Samantha came home from her mother's house in tears. She says you've been hiding money from me. She thinks you're planning to leave me broke. We're not getting divorced. And I'm not hiding anything. I know. But she's telling people you have secret accounts. She says that's why you wanted to buy a house so far away. It was brilliant in its evil simplicity. Beatrice was creating a narrative where every normal thing I did became evidence of abuse. Buying a house meant isolation. Saving money meant financial control. She'd even started spreading rumors about my family. Apparently, my father had been violent too, which was complete fiction. She's destroying everything we've built, I said. My reputation, my business, our future. I'll talk to her again, Samantha promised. Talking won't work. She's not going to stop until she gets what she wants. What does she want? She wants me gone. That's when I met Jasmine. Beatrice's niece was 24, fresh out of college, staying with her aunt while looking for a job. Samantha and I encountered her at the grocery store Saturday morning. "Derek, this is my cousin Jasmine," Samantha said. Jasmine shook my hand politely, but I caught something in her expression. A flicker of surprise, maybe confusion. "Nice to meet you," she said carefully. We chatted about her job search. She seemed intelligent and thoughtful, nothing like her aunt. When we parted ways, she said something that stuck with me. "It was really nice meeting you, Derek. You're very different from what I expected." Later that evening, Samantha mentioned that Jasmine had texted her. "She said you seemed really nice." She was surprised. Surprised about what? Samantha hesitated. "I think my mother has been talking to her about us." That night, I couldn't sleep. If Beatrice had been feeding Jasmine lies about me, then Jasmine might be willing to listen to the truth. The opportunity came Tuesday. I was working on an electrical repair at the coffee shop downtown when Jasmine walked in. She ordered her drink and sat down with her laptop. When I finished the repair, I approached her table. "Mind if I sit down? I wanted to apologize for putting you in an awkward position." She looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I know your aunt has been telling people things about me. Things that aren't true." Jasmine closed her laptop and studied my face. "Can I ask you something directly?" "Sure." "Do you hit Samantha?" "Never. I've never laid a hand on her in anger. I love your cousin more than anything." Jasmine nodded slowly. "I thought so. You don't seem like the type." "What type is that?" "The type my aunt described. She told me you were aggressive and controlling. But when I met you, you seemed gentle. And Samantha was clearly comfortable around you." My heart raced. This was the break I'd been hoping for. "Your aunt is trying to destroy my marriage." "I don't know why." "My aunt has done this before." "What do you mean?" I asked, leaning forward. Jasmine glanced around the coffee shop. "When I was in high school, my aunt destroyed my mother's relationship with her boyfriend. She spread rumors about him being a drunk. My mom broke up with him because she believed her sister." "Was it true?" "No. He was actually a great guy. My mom realized it years later, but by then he'd moved away." My pulse quickened. Why did Beatrice do that? Control. She couldn't stand that my mother was happy with someone she didn't approve of. Jasmine opened her laptop, then closed it. "I've been living with Aunt Beatrice for 3 months now." "How?" "She collects information about people and uses it against them. She has files on everyone in her social circle. Names, addresses, secrets, weaknesses." I felt cold. Files? Physical files in her home office. Everything written down, organized by name. Jasmine met my eyes. "Including a file on you." The implications hit me like a truck. Beatrice hadn't just been spreading random lies. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because what my aunt is doing is wrong." That night, I couldn't focus. The knowledge that Beatrice had a file on me was eating away at my thoughts. What kind of information had she gathered? Samantha noticed my distraction during dinner. You seem upset. Did something happen at work? I wanted to tell her about my conversation with Jasmine, but something held me back. Just thinking about the business, I said. It wasn't entirely a lie. My electrical contracting business was suffering from the rumors. 2 more clients had cancelled, and I'd lost a bid on a major commercial project. At this rate, I'd be bankrupt within 6 months. Beatrice wasn't just trying to destroy my marriage. She was destroying my entire livelihood. That's when I made the decision. I wasn't going to sit back and let her ruin everything I'd worked for. I called Jasmine the next morning. I need to see those files, I said. Derek, I don't know if that's a good idea. She's destroying my life. There was a long pause. She goes to her book club every Thursday evening. Thursday couldn't come fast enough. I told Samantha I was working late, which technically wasn't a lie. Jasmine met me 3 blocks from Beatrice's house at 7:30. Are you sure about this? She asked. I'm sure. She had a key. We slipped inside quietly, and she led me to Beatrice's home office. It was organized to the point of obsession, with filing cabinets lining one wall. There, Jasmine pointed to a filing cabinet. The personal files are in the bottom drawer. I found my file immediately. It was thick. Inside were photocopies of my credit report, printouts from social media, notes about my work schedule, even photos of me taken without my knowledge. But the worst part was the document on top, a detailed plan titled Derek Freitas, Character Assessment. It outlined exactly how Beatrice intended to destroy my reputation. This is insane, I whispered. She's been planning this for months. Jasmine was looking through another file. Derek, you need to see this. She handed me a folder labeled Jasmine Nick, Personal Information. Inside were copies of Jasmine's college transcripts, her medical records, and photographs taken with a telephoto lens. She's been spying on you, I said. We spent another hour going through the files. What we found was disturbing. Beatrice had dirt on everyone, her book club friends, her neighbors, even her own family members. But the most shocking discovery was a folder labeled Future Plans. Inside were detailed schemes for destroying the reputations of various people who had crossed her. She's sick, Jasmine said. She's more than sick. She's dangerous. That's when I found it, a letter Beatrice had written but never sent, addressed to my boss at Conway Construction. In it, she detailed how I'd threatened her and how she feared for Samantha's safety. She'd even included fake quotes from neighbors. She was going to send this to your boss? Jasmine asked. Maybe she still is. This is dated next week. I photographed everything with my phone. Every document, every plan, every piece of evidence that showed Beatrice's true nature. Jasmine, how would you feel about helping me give your aunt a taste of her own medicine? She looked at me for a long moment, then smiled grimly. What did you have in mind? My plan was simple but effective. Beatrice's greatest weakness was her pride. She'd built her reputation as the moral center of her social circle. If that reputation crumbled, she'd lose everything. The book club meets at Mrs. Valdez's house next Thursday, Jasmine explained. All the women your aunt has been talking to about you will be there. Perfect. That's our target audience. Over the next week, I prepared my counterattack. I created copies of the most damaging documents from Beatrice's files, focusing on her plans to destroy innocent people's reputations. I also compiled evidence of her surveillance activities, including the invasive photos of Jasmine. But the centerpiece was the letter she'd written to my boss. It was so obviously fabricated that anyone reading it would recognize it as the work of someone with serious mental health issues. Are you sure you want to do this? Samantha asked the night before. Your mother started this war. I'm just going to finish it. The next evening, Jasmine and I executed our plan. We posted everything on social media. I created a Facebook account specifically for this purpose, using a pseudonym but making sure the post would reach Beatrice's entire social circle. The title was simple: The Truth About Beatrice Nick. Below that, I laid out the entire story. How she'd been systematically spreading lies about me. How she'd been collecting personal information about her neighbors and friends. How she'd been planning to destroy multiple people's reputations for years. And then I included the evidence. Photos of her files, copies of her fake letters, screenshots of her detailed plans to ruin people's lives. Everything I'd found in her office. The post went live at 8 o'clock, right when the book club would be in full swing. Jasmine and I sat in my truck outside Mrs. Valdez's house, watching and waiting. At 8:15, we saw Mrs. Kelly check her phone. At 8:20, Mrs. Lane showed her screen to the woman next to her. By 8:30, half the book club was staring at their phones in shock. At 8:45, Beatrice stormed out of the house and drove away, tires screeching. Think it worked? Jasmine asked. I was already getting notifications. The post was being shared rapidly. By midnight, the post had been shared over 200 times. People were tagging their friends, adding their own comments about their experiences with Beatrice, and sharing stories I'd never heard before. Apparently, I wasn't her first victim. Mrs. Kelly commented that Beatrice had spread rumors about her son being on drugs. Mrs. Lane revealed that Beatrice had tried to sabotage her daughter's college applications by calling the admissions offices. The stories kept coming. A neighbor whose marriage Beatrice had nearly destroyed with false cheating accusations. A former friend whose business had suffered after Beatrice spread rumors about financial impropriety. But the most damaging comments came from people sharing their own screenshots of text messages and emails from Beatrice. Evidence of her manipulation, her lies, her attempts to turn people against each other. Look at this, Jasmine said, showing me her phone. Someone found her LinkedIn profile and started posting the evidence there too. Beatrice's carefully constructed image was crumbling in real time. The woman who had spent years collecting other people's secrets was having her own secrets exposed. You know what the best part is? I told Jasmine. I didn't lie about anything. The next morning brought chaos. My phone started ringing at 6 a.m. with calls from people I barely knew, all wanting to apologize for believing Beatrice's lies. Mrs. Valier knocked on my door with homemade cookies and tears in her eyes. I'm so sorry, Derek. My boss called to apologize and offered me the commercial contract I'd lost. But the real satisfaction came when Samantha's phone rang at 10 a.m. It's my mother, she said. She put it on speaker. Beatrice's voice was frantic, desperate. Samantha, you have to help me. Someone has hacked my computer and posted lies about me. They're not fake, Mom, Samantha said quietly. Derek showed me copies last night. Silence. Samantha, you don't understand. I was just trying to protect you. By lying about my husband? By spying on our cousin? I never meant for it to go this far. Yes, you did. You planned every bit of it. Samantha's voice was getting stronger. You tried to ruin my marriage because you couldn't control my life. Please, Samantha. You have to help me fix this. No, Mom. You did this to yourself. Samantha hung up. It was the first time she'd stood up to her mother. The viral spread continued through the weekend. Someone had created a Twitter account called Beatrice Files, and was posting daily excerpts from her documents. A local news blog picked up the story. But the most devastating blow came Monday morning. Jasmine called me with news that made everything worthwhile. The police want to talk to my aunt. Apparently, some of her surveillance activities were illegal. taking photos of people without consent, obtaining medical records under false pretenses. Are you serious? Dead serious. Mrs. Lane filed a complaint after she found out Beatrice had gotten copies of her daughter's therapy records. I felt a surge of satisfaction. Beatrice hadn't just been playing dirty, she'd been breaking the law. There's more. The Homeowners Association is calling an emergency meeting about her behavior. A lot of neighbors want her removed from the board. She's on the HOA board? She's the president. Has been for 3 years. But after people found out she was collecting files on everyone in the neighborhood, they're demanding her resignation. Within a week, Beatrice's entire world had collapsed. She'd lost her social circle, her position of authority, and potentially her freedom. The final nail in the coffin came the following Thursday. The book club met at Mrs. Valdez's house again, but this time, they weren't discussing literature. They were discussing Beatrice. Jasmine attended as a guest and recorded the conversation. "I can't believe we trusted her all these years," Mrs. Kelly said. "She had files on all of us. Did you see the photos she took of my backyard? She was documenting every time my teenage son had friends over. The worst part is how she manipulated us. She'd tell each of us different stories about the same person, just to stir up drama." They spent 2 hours sharing stories about Beatrice's manipulation and control. Every woman in that room had been a victim of her games at some point. We should have seen the signs. She always knew too much about everyone's personal business. And she was always stirring up trouble between people. Now we know why. By the end of the meeting, they decided to formally ban Beatrice from their group. The woman who had once been the center of their social circle was now persona non grata. She built her entire identity around controlling other people. Now she has no one left to control. A month after the files were exposed, the consequences for Beatrice were still mounting. The police investigation had expanded to include charges of harassment, stalking, and identity theft. Her church had quietly asked her to step down from her volunteer positions. The Homeowners Association had voted unanimously to remove her from the board. Even her family was distancing themselves. "My mother won't even return her calls anymore," Jasmine told me during our weekly coffee meeting. "After she found out about the files Beatrice kept on our family, she cut off all contact." How is Beatrice handling it? Not well. She's barely leaving the house. When she does go out, people stare and whisper. The irony wasn't lost on me. Beatrice had tried to destroy my reputation with lies, and I'd destroyed hers with the truth. The woman who had spent years manipulating others was now completely isolated. But the best part was watching Samantha grow stronger. Standing up to her mother had been liberating for her. She was more confident, more independent. "I'm sorry I didn't see what she was doing sooner. You couldn't have known. She was very good at hiding her true nature. Not anymore. Thanks to you, everyone knows exactly who she is." The story took an unexpected turn 6 weeks later. Jasmine called me with news that changed everything. A publisher wants to write a book about what happened. They're calling it a case study in psychological manipulation. Are you kidding? Dead serious. They've been following the story online and want to interview everyone involved. The idea was surreal. My personal nightmare had become a cautionary tale about toxic family dynamics. They want to interview you, me, Samantha, and even some of the book club ladies. I agreed to the interviews. If my experience could help other people recognize similar situations, it was worth the exposure. The book was published 8 months later under the title, The Files Next Door, a true story of manipulation, surveillance, and social media justice. It became a bestseller. Beatrice tried to sue for defamation, but her case was thrown out of court. The judge ruled that the book was factually accurate and served the public interest. The legal fees bankrupted her. A year after the files were exposed, I received an unexpected visitor. Beatrice showed up at my electrical shop on a Tuesday afternoon, looking older and more fragile. "I need to talk to you," she said quietly. I considered refusing, but curiosity got the better of me. I led her to my office. "I'm moving away. Somewhere no one knows what I did." "Okay." I wanted to apologize. "What I did to you was wrong." I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation. But she just looked tired and defeated. "Why?" I asked. "Why did you do all of it?" She was quiet for a long moment. "I was afraid of losing Samantha." "You were taking her away from me." "I wasn't taking her anywhere. I was just loving her." "I know that now. But at the time, all I could see was that my daughter was building a life that didn't revolve around me." She stood up to leave, then turned back. "The worst part is that I destroyed our relationship anyway." "That's your choice too. You chose control over love, and you lost both." After she left, I called Samantha. "Do you think she meant it? The apology? I think she's sorry she got caught." 2 years later, my electrical contracting business was thriving. The publicity from the book had actually been good for business. I'd hired 3 employees and was considering expanding. Samantha and I had finally bought our dream house. We were also expecting our first child, a daughter we planned to name Hope. "It's funny," Samantha said one evening as we painted the nursery. "In trying to destroy our marriage, my mother actually made it stronger." She was right. Going through that ordeal together had taught us to trust each other completely. We'd learned to communicate better and recognize manipulation. Jasmine had become like a sister to us. She'd found a great job in marketing and was dating a wonderful guy. She visited often and always brought updates about her aunt's sad new life. She's working at a grocery store in Oregon. Living in a studio apartment, no friends, no social life. I felt a mixture of satisfaction and pity. Beatrice had gotten exactly what she deserved. "Do you ever feel bad about what you did to her?" Samantha asked me later. "No. She made her choices, and I just showed people the consequences. The truth isn't revenge. It's just truth." The viral aspect of the story never really died down. The Facebook post continued to be shared periodically, often accompanied by comments like, "Everyone needs to see this," and "This is why you should never trust gossips." The book spawned a documentary film that premiered at several film festivals. The filmmaker focused on the broader implications of Beatrice's behavior, interviewing psychologists about narcissistic manipulation. I appeared in the documentary briefly, explaining how social media had been both the weapon used against me and the tool I'd used to defend myself. The internet can be used to destroy people with lies. But it can also be used to expose people with truth. The difference is that truth has staying power. The documentary won an award for Best Social Issue Film and was eventually picked up by a streaming service. Suddenly, our small-town drama was being watched by millions of people worldwide. The comments section was particularly satisfying. Viewers from around the globe shared their own stories of dealing with toxic family members. Many said the documentary had given them the courage to expose their own tormentors. "You showed people that bullies can be defeated. Thank you for fighting back." 3 years after the initial exposure, I received a message that brought the story full circle. It was from a young man named Austin who lived in Oregon. "I work at the grocery store where Beatrice Nick is employed. I recognized her from the documentary. I wanted you to know that she's still the same person. She's been trying to spread rumors about our manager and collecting personal information about customers." I showed the message to Samantha. "She never learned," she said sadly. "Some people can't change. They just find new victims." I wrote back to Austin, sharing some advice about documenting everything. I also put him in touch with the documentary filmmaker, who was interested in doing a follow-up piece. 6 months later, Beatrice was fired from the grocery store after her new victims shared their evidence with management. The local Oregon news picked up the story. "Serial Reputation Destroyer Strikes Again," read the headline. The article detailed how Beatrice had attempted to recreate her manipulative schemes in a new city. She was forced to move again, this time to a small town where her story was less likely to follow her. But it would always follow her. That's the thing about viral content, it never really goes away. 5 years later, I was invited to speak at a conference about workplace bullying and toxic family dynamics. The organizers wanted me to share my experience as an example of how ordinary people can fight back against systematic harassment. Standing on that stage, looking out at an audience of several hundred people, I reflected on how much my life had changed since that first conversation with my boss about the rumors Beatrice was spreading. The most important thing I learned is that silence enables abusers. When someone is systematically destroying your reputation or manipulating your relationships, staying quiet doesn't make it go away. It just gives them more time to cause damage. I talked about the importance of documentation, the power of truth, and the value of finding allies like Jasmine who were willing to help expose the truth. But remember, the goal isn't revenge. The goal is protection. Protection for yourself, protection for future victims, and protection for the truth itself. The speech was recorded and later posted on YouTube, where it received over 1 million views. The comments section was filled with people sharing their own stories of triumph over manipulative family members and workplace bullies. One comment particularly stood out: "I was being harassed by my ex-husband's mother who was spreading lies about me to turn my children against me. This video gave me the courage to document everything and expose her behavior. Thank you for showing me that the truth always wins in the end." That's when I knew that everything we'd been through had been worth it. Today, Samantha and I have 3 children, and our marriage is stronger than ever. My electrical business has expanded to include solar installation and smart home systems. We live in the house we always wanted, surrounded by friends who know the truth about who we are. Jasmine is married now and has a baby of her own. She still keeps in touch with occasional updates about Beatrice, who continues to move from town to town as her reputation follows her. The last we heard, she was living in a retirement community in rural Montana, where her internet access is monitored. The book about our experience is still popular and has been translated into 12 languages. The documentary continues to be used in psychology classes as an example of how narcissistic abuse operates and how it can be defeated. Sometimes people recognize me from the documentary and thank me for sharing our story. They tell me about their own victories over toxic family members or workplace bullies. Each story reminds me that standing up to Beatrice wasn't just about protecting my own family, it was about showing others that they could protect theirs too. The files that Beatrice kept on everyone have become legendary in our town. People still refer to secret information gathering as pulling a Beatrice. But the most satisfying part isn't the viral fame or the book sales. It's the peace. The knowledge that my children will grow up in a family where truth matters more than control, where love doesn't come with conditions, and where standing up to bullies is not just acceptable but necessary. Beatrice tried to destroy my reputation with lies. Instead, she gave me a platform to build something better. Sometimes the best revenge really is living well. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the playlist now.